What is going on, jerk faces? Happy 4th of July, and welcome to Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. It's a conversation you could be having during the day, but having at night. Yes, it is our 4th of July episode of Nocturnal Transmissions, and we don't have anything really planned. Let's just be real. We don't have anything really that special planned, but we will be talking, Declaration of Independence a little bit, and a whole lot of other stuff. So strap in. With me, as ever, co-hosting this thing is the homeboy Rob.
Happy birthday, America.
Indeed. Yes. So, with all that said, let's get this conversation started. Rob, how was your weekend?
Weekend was pretty good. What did I do this weekend? Definitely not as jam-packed as last weekend. Just mainly did work in church, and then was watching our stuff for our movie of the week segment. So that was a good time. Started to not feel all that great last night, and ended up going to sleep. Did not feel good this morning, but I still powered through at work and got shit done. So that was not pleasant, but hey, sometimes that's how life rolls.
Yeah. I went to the other night. I went to sleep and then I woke. It was a little bit harder for me to wake up this morning. I don't know why, but yeah. And then I went up and then I went for my run, and I was definitely lacking some energy because I've been running now for almost a month, and I don't know why, but today was especially hard on me. I didn't have the same stamina or energy. I still got through my run, but yeah, today it was just a little harder.
A little harder,
just a little harder.
Yeah, I know that is sometimes just like, oof. It's just you push yourself a little bit extra, and it's just we're getting to that age where, man, it's a little bit rougher to recover sometimes.
Right? Yeah. I mean, usually I can do an all-nighter, get 1 hour of sleep, and then just crank out the rest of the day, and I'll be fine with very, very few ill effects. But now it's like, I get if I get even like 30 minutes less sleep than what I'm used to, and I'm just completely wrecked the next day.
Yeah, I can't. That's something I've noticed too. I can do it like once where like I'm not. I can go with a little bit less sleep, like 3 or 4 hours, but I'll be okay for a bit that next day. But if I do it too often, oof, it's like it's a rough.
Yep. Oh.
So, but yeah, no, it's. How long so you've been running for what? You said about a month?
Yeah, for about a month.
Yeah. Well, I mean, running is a good, get that good cardio going on.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually, I only got into it because I'm helping a buddy out lose some weight.
Mm-hmm.
Because, he was like complaining, like, man, I can't lose any weight, my diet sucks or this or that. And so, I was like, hey, if you want, let's do a weight loss challenge. And so I challenged him. He's like, all right, fine. And so we decided a month, and since I have more time to exercise and just be active more, because he has he has more of a desk job, 9 to 5 kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided to make the ratio for every 1 pound he loses, I have to lose a pound and a half. And his goal was 10 pounds, and so I have to lose 15 pounds.
I think that's honestly that's a really doable goal.
Yeah, I don't know how. I don't even know if I'm losing weight because other than the first weigh-in that I did, I haven't really weighed myself.
Yeah, because I lost a lot of weight by I just changed my like portion size on like and like the times that I ate, and so I would turn one meal into like 2 or 3 meals, and that way like so I'm eating less, and man, I lost like so much weight like right away. Not eating at like doing my best to not eat at like midnight and stuff, which also really helps. I try to like 8 o'clock is kind of that my cutoff point for like dinner. So if I don't eat by that time, like I just don't eat.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I try to not eat after 8, also, but on special circumstances where like I've drunk a ton of water and I'm still not feeling satiated. I'll allow myself like a small snack. Nothing terribly big, and moderately healthy.
Right. So I mean, it that helped me. And now that like especially the job I have too, like I'm essentially going to the gym every day. So
right, yeah, because you're like on your you're on your feet most of the time, and
yeah,
and just moving
so,
it
like,
and you're moving your body more.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like the weight, and then I'm averaging about like 15,000 steps a day.
Oh wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, it's yeah, I definitely like got a lot more muscle. The one thing that I kind of wish I could get rid of a little bit is I'm kind of have that Stan Smith type of body where it's like fit upper body, but like my belly's kind of out of shape.
Like the Vince Vaughn, like skinny fat.
Yeah, exactly. I'm that in shape, out of shape guy.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of see it in my face, like I have a little bit more defined like jawline. So. So I'm, so there are results. I just don't know how much weight I've lost.
Yeah.
Just because I don't want to do that. I don't want to sabotage myself and like constantly be weighing myself. And if I'm not like losing weight, then it's just like I'm not losing any weight, and so then I get discouraged.
That's why I think you just go ahead you check it like every couple of weeks. It's kind of.
Well, it's also just a short time that it's like I don't want to do that to myself.
Right.
But yeah, so yeah. This last week. I mean, it's not technically the weekend, but on Thursday I did a photo shoot with Christina.
Yeah, I saw some of the pictures from that.
Yeah. And so that was cool. Great. Yeah, it's been such a long time since because mostly I've been doing like video work and just like editing here and there that I haven't really been able to I really haven't been able to get back to my first love, which is photography, and just particularly portraits and just working with people. And so when she approached me to do some shoots for her, I was like, cool. And then when we did it this past Thursday, I was just like, it made me realize how much I missed it. Being behind the camera, the lights and all that, and just the interaction. It's very. I mean, I kind of I equate it to like being a conductor of an orchestra. Like I'm the conductor, and then the baton is the camera, and like the model is the orchestra, and I give command, I give directions, and like, and the model responds, and create music.
Yeah, and I saw some of your work. It turned out great. And
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, you are a very talented photographer, and that's one thing I feel is kind of like a lost art nowadays, because now every asshole that has a phone thinks that they're like this awesome photographer, when it's like, no, there's still an art to it that is it takes skill and delicacy, and trying to get just that right the right lighting, and everything involved, and yeah, you definitely do a great job with that.
Yeah, it's funny because during a little bit of the downtime, Christina and I were talking, and then she was like saying like, yeah, you should really try and what is it, advertise more my services, and I was like, yeah, I should. And just kind of like I just made like this kind of off the cuff remark saying like, yeah, I should advertise myself as a professional Instagram boyfriend, and we both had we both had a good laugh about it. For those of you unaware, an Instagram boyfriend is a guy that takes all the pictures for the girl for her social media, particularly Instagram,
Right.
and and it's mostly a thankless job.
Pretty much.
Yeah, there's just like there's no there's no appreciation. There's no you're just you know I forget. There's a bunch of people who've done like little sketches about it, and like like if the angle isn't right, or if it's not the right side, then the Instagram boyfriend gets berated, and so. So me and Christina were just joking around saying, so yeah, I should just, like really just advertise myself as like the like a premier Instagram boyfriend.
That would be
So
pretty hilarious.
yeah, so it's something to think about.
Yeah, no, I definitely respect your talent, sir. You do a pretty damn good job in being the reason that we have a show that comes out every week. So,
right?
but no, your photography skills are second to none in my opinion. So,
well, thank you. It's nice to be appreciated.
Yeah. So with that, should we get into our movie of the week segment?
All right, movie of the week. So for those of you who have been keeping up, we do this segment where we watch a movie, sometimes new, sometimes old, and we just do a review and a critique. And we were supposed to do this last week, but I forget what happened. But we ended up not doing it, and we did Incredibles.
We did Incredibles 2 instead, because we both just happened to watch it at the same time.
Right. Yeah. And so the movie we were supposed to do got pushed back to this week, and that movie is the Roaring Twenties. It's an old movie.
1939.
What was that?
It came out in 1939.
1939. Yes. Well, I'll leave that. I'll leave that part for you.
Okay. So the movie starts off kind of giving the audience a story that it's the names have been changed. The characters like represent were like real people, but like the stories that are being portrayed actually happened, and at least that's what we're given.
Oh right, yeah. I actually like that. I actually like that a lot. And
Yeah.
how I was saying like, oh, if these, it was almost there was also a kind of like an air of like they're warning us. Like
Right.
if these actions were to occur again, then just kind of like just watch yourselves basically.
Right. And so we have a few. There's three men that are kind of the the main characters. The lead actor is James Cagney, who I think actually a little bit of a side note about James Cagney. At least I think it was with James Cagney. My grandfather used to be a chauffeur. He drove old like Duesenbergs and Packards and stuff. So he would drive around, some of the big stars back in the day. And James Cagney was one of the guys that he drove. At least I think I heard that story correctly from my family. But so just a little side note about James Cagney. And then this is actually one of an early Humphrey Bogart film. Kind of also
Right. Because he wasn't the lead in this movie. He was a supporting. He was a supporting.
Yeah, and who's also have it has Priscilla Lane, who plays kind of the love interest of James Cagney's character,
right.
And was it George Halley was the other man? He was like their other friend, and so it starts off in World War One, just before the Armistice Day, with World War One being declared over, and they're all like stuck in a trench together, and not really sure if they're gonna make it out, and they're talking about like what they plan to do afterwards, and Humphrey Bogart at the time, he is he owned a bar. James Cagney, his character. Oh, I'm trying to remember. Eddie Bartlett was his character's name. He he was a mechanic, and so he was going to go back to just being a mechanic. And George, was it? And then their other friend was a lawyer. So so the war ends. They end up going back to their respective towns, and this tough times have hit. Like a lot of the returning soldiers can't find work because the world has kind of the economy has changed a bit. So they have to James Cagney, George or Eddie Bartlett. He has to try to find something to make ends meet, and he's kind of starts off as a cab driver, and kind of gets mixed up in the prohibition dealing, just kind of by accident almost.
Right. Yeah. Like bootleggers.
Yeah, and it's something that to tie this is something a little bit more modern. Mm-hmm. It has a very kind of Breaking Bad feel to it, where you have a character who is a good guy. He has a lot. He has really good virtues, and he has good reasons for getting stuck into getting into this life. And he's like, oh no, we're not gonna hurt anybody. We're just doing our best to be independent, make money and survive. And as time goes on, he as he gets becoming more and more of a big shot, he kind of starts falling into that darkness that a life of crime tends to lead to. So it's just kind of this continuing escalation of him making more and more money, getting more and more power, and he runs into Humphrey Bogart's character again as he's robbing a ship of its the liquor that it's transporting. Yeah, and I think that was where James Cagney's character really turn kind of towards the dark side, because Humphrey Bogart in this movie is not a good guy. He's kind of one of the villains of the film,
right?
And just the way that he acted, and he would tend to shoot first, ask questions later.
Right.
And that's kind of how.
Right. Yeah, and he definitely had aspirations, because at the time he was just like the muscle for another big boss.
Right.
But these two war buddies, they meet up by happenstance and decide to go into business together. And I think that was a turning point for James Cagney's character going down that dark path.
Yeah. Something else. I mean, obviously, too. I don't know if did you ever watch a show called Boardwalk Empire?
No, but I've heard of it. Yeah.
Oh, it was fantastic. But
it's like the same kind of era, right?
Yeah, it's set around this 1920s era, like New York and like Atlantic. Well, it was set in Atlantic City for the show, but
right.
Yeah, it's kind of the same deal as kind of Prohibition starting, and it turns guys that were kind of two-bit thugs into these huge gangsters that had a lot of power.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, overall, I mean, there's a little bit of a love interest. Eddie, has during the war, there was some girl who was writing him, who turned out to be a very young girl. She was in high school still,
mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna go."
Yeah, because as soon as he gets back from war, one of the first things he does is look up this girl, and then he finds out that she's still she's still underage. He's like, oh, it's like, oh well, nice meeting you, kid. And just like he was a dust cloud.
Yeah, but they reconnect, a few years later, as she's, part of the cabaret number, and he's like, wow, he's kind of, she's very grown up now, and so he's
filled out, as it were.
Yeah, as he put. So, and that's Priscilla Lane's character. Her character is named Jean, and so he kind of, in a lot of ways, kind of like not forces himself on her. He's always very respectful, but it's more of kind of coerces her into.
He's persistent.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Okay, that's probably the best way to put it. He's persistent. He really likes her, thinks she's very talented, and kind of, shares his life and what he does with her, and kind of throws a lot of money.
Even helps to jumpstart her career by getting her own show at like the Speakeasy that he kind of partners with to sell his liquor.
Right. So it's and he's like, well, he kind of proposes to her without because they weren't really dating. I don't think they were just more of he really liked her, and she obviously was kind of liked him, sort of. She at least liked the life that he had helped kind of provide for her.
I think it was still like a little residual juice from when she was younger, and they were exchanging letters during the war. Right. So,
and she felt like a loyalty to him for all that he had done.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the other friend, the lawyer friend from the war, that she actually really fell in love with in the end. So yeah, you kind of had that kind of broken love story, romance kind of love
triangle. It was like, and who was that other woman in the movie?
That was Panama Smith. Was the other lady. Yeah.
Right, and she saw the road sign. She knows where she knew where it was gonna lead, and and James Cagney's character, like he was like completely oblivious, like, oh, what are you talking about? She's over the moon for me and stuff like that, and Panama kept trying to
Everyone kept
warn
telling him,
him.
"Don't see it."
And I think, it also Panama had a thing for him as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And because she kept talking about oh, no one's gonna treat you as good as I do, and that's why we get along so well, because we have the same taste. It was like it was apparent from the first day we met, that we were two of a kind, and it was kind of dropping these hints, saying that I fancy you or whatever. Right. But he was just he was just so fixated on this other girl that he wasn't able to see.
Yeah, so you get a little bit of everything in this film. You get kind of a, if you want kind of a broken love story, you got that. If you like old gangster films, you got that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's and it's actually a pretty quickly paced movie. But it's not where it's so fast where you have no idea what's going on.
Right.
It's just yeah, I actually like I said, it kind of reminded me a lot of some of the kind of like Breaking Bad or Boardwalk Empire. It's kind of like a little bit of a mixture of both of those, where the main character is a pretty decent guy, but ends up getting kind of just sucked into the darkness that surrounds kind of a life of crime. And in the end, spoiler alert, he kind of goes out the way that he probably should go out. He gets killed by another gangster.
Right. It's also interesting because what was it? When he first started getting into bootlegging, what was it? Yeah, he never sampled the product. He never got high on his own supply, as it were. And
Yeah.
Even when he was just at the speakeasy, just kind of enjoying himself. Even the first time he went to the speakeasy, all he had was a glass of milk. Yeah, exactly. And throughout the entire first part of the movie, he didn't drink, he didn't imbibe anything except for milk. And then it wasn't until he broke, or the
when Gene left him.
Yeah, when Gene left him was when he first he went to the bar because he was so broken hearted, and it's it's oh, maybe it's time for me to sample the stuff I've been selling, and then as you might guess he starts going his life starts to unravel, and he becomes an alcoholic, and
stock market crashes.
Yeah, and then a series of unfortunate events occur. The first thing, of course, Gene leaving him, and then the other was the stock market crash in the 30s, and and then I guess the third thing was his other friend, Humphrey Bogart's character, kind of sticking it to him, is because he needed money to what is it, settle some sort of a debt,
right.
And then so his friend played by Humphrey Bogart's yeah, sure, buddy, I'll give you the money. He's I'll give it to you for the entire stake in the cab company that you have. And him being so desperate, he accepts, and so it's at that point where he really starts to tailspin, and his life is in shambles, and he goes even on he goes down on more depressing path.
Right. So it's like you get it's definitely a tragic tale, but it's definitely I give it a a thumbs up. It was a good movie. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I went into it with no expectations, but I was very entertained. I was very impressed with the movie, and it's kind of interesting because the path that James Cagney's character Eddie Bartlett goes down is it reminded me of what what happens to Luke Cage. If you guys are Marvel TV fans, Netflix recently dropped the second season of Luke Cage.
Oh yeah, I'm watching that right now.
Okay. Yeah, and there's a slight similarity to the character of Luke Cage, and I saw like similarities between Luke Cage and Eddie Bartlett.
Well, how would you make that? Like, where do you see the connection in there?
Well, it's just it's really towards the end, and I have like I didn't really like this season of Luke Cage, if I'm to be honest.
You're not liking season 2? I think it's been fantastic.
Where are you?
Season 1. I'm at I think I'm on the last 2. I'm on episode 10 right now.
Okay, so you're close to the end.
The Iron Fist is partnering up with them right now.
Oh, okay. Actually, it's funny because I wish that this version of the Iron Fist was in the first season.
Yeah, exactly. I agree because they definitely fixed his character.
Yeah, like completely. He's like he's a lot less, annoying,
Oh my, yeah. Okay, so quick side note. Oh, thank God! I'm glad somebody else said that because it's just like I'm Danny Rand. I'm the immortal.
I'm the immortal Iron Fist.
And like he would just, oh my God, he's just such a. But thank God, like it's like what the hell? This isn't the character. He's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, coming like he was kind of like the kung fu master, giving the advice.
Yeah.
And he was a lot less annoying. A lot, he toned down like I am the immortal Iron Fist. I'm the protector of Kunlun and da 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 da. It's like shut up.
It feels like I think he's like more comfortable with his like position now.
Right. I think he's reacclimated to being in like the West and like living in New York and being a billionaire and things like that.
Yeah.
So, but not to get too spoilery into into the Luke Cage thing, but there's like he kind of goes on a similar path to Eddie Bartlett.
In that like he goes down kind of like a darker path, or
a little bit of a darker path, and like he takes certain actions in the hopes to restore peace, but
you're absolutely right.
But it takes him. I mean, this is Luke Cage. Luke Cage, takes certain actions, or he undertakes certain actions, which force him to go down like a darker path.
Yeah, it was. There was a line from there where I forget which character he was talking to. I don't know if it was his dad or the other.
I loved his dad. His dad was awesome.
Oh yeah, or the other guy from the barbershop. He's like, I feel like there's like 2 Luke Cages. There's the one that that's me, but then there's like Luke Cage, the hero, and it's like, well, it's got to be pretty tough. It's like when you're only one person. Yes.
Mm-hmm, right.
And the he's feeling like he has to make like some sort of like difference, and he's trying to be like this, essentially like Superman, and it's like that's not. And he has just a lot of this frustration built up in him.
See, that's what I. It's like I think he's a completely different character from the first season.
Right. Oh, well, he's more complex, and he thinks he's doing everything he can to solve, to do the right thing, but everyone, but the rest of the characters see that it's like you're running away. You're not actually engaging anything. You're running away from your past, and you're trying to. Like he's running away from his dad. He's running away from like his past, and he's so involved, so consumed with, taking out like these bad guys and in that process he ends up making things a lot worse.
Yeah, I mean, well, like the whole thing where he kind of erupts in anger at Claire, and puts his fist to the wall. Like I don't. I mean, I don't know if I wasn't paying attention, but I don't understand like how he got to that point.
I think because the sensitive, like he's very he has a lot of like anger towards his dad, and like he kind of just wants to leave that subject alone. But Claire was not allowing him to just run away from it, and I think because Luke felt that when he needed his like family support the most, his dad like abandoned him, and obviously like his dad's infidelity led caused the first season's villain to become what it was, and that allowed for that he saw how like his dad's errors caused a lot of the issues that he's faced in that he's faced recently, and so and then his dad didn't even tell him about like his mom's death. He had to find it out from some security guard, and so a lot of that is like he doesn't want to like hear anything about his dad or what he has to say, and because of that, like but Claire won't leave it alone, and she knows that he needs to heal from that that those past hurts, and that's like the best way to move forward. And that's why, like, he's obviously not going to hit Claire, so it's like he just punched out the wall.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like I don't know. It just seems like it seems like it's such a departure from the character that they established in the first one. That it's hard for me to wrap my head around this version of Luke Cage.
You see, I guess I didn't see it as a departure from the character. I think it was his character is developing, because we see that obviously we meet him initially in Jessica Jones, and he's just a guy that wants just to be left alone. He doesn't want to raise any trouble, and
he doesn't want to bring attention onto himself.
Yeah, but then like in season 1 of Luke Cage, he's kind of like forced into a situation where it's like, man, like the city that I live in is hurting, and he sees where the problems are coming from, and so he tries to make a difference, and obviously from that gains a lot of popularity, and like kind of and then even in the Defenders, he goes and helps defeat the Hand, and he starts, and in this season you start to see like all that stuff is his popularity has soared, and he takes it upon himself. It's like I gotta fix everything, and I gotta I'm angry that there's so much crime and drugs and everything that's that's in the city, and I see where it's coming from, and I need to put a stop to it. Yet at the same time, he still has a lot of his own demons and struggles from his past.
Yeah.
And usually in these cases, your past always comes calling at some point, and this is the season where that's happening for Luke Cage. So I see it as more of like his character is growing, not changing.
Okay. I don't know. I think I don't know. Maybe I just have to watch it again. But I mean, I thought it was still like a good. I thought it was a good season.
Oh yeah,
I really like Bushmaster. I thought he was a very unique and complex villain. Even if sometimes he didn't even feel like he was the villain.
Yeah, he was he's a very interesting villain, and in a lot of ways, like he's Luke Cage-esque type of figure too.
Right. Yeah. It's very much like he very much felt like Luke Cage's like counterpoint.
Yeah, I mean, obviously in ability, somewhat in abilities, but even just in his personality and background, there's a lot of he's coming from
a lot of tragedy, a lot of trauma.
And the tragedy and trauma kind of comes from the same source too. So it's one of those things. And he even says like we shouldn't be like fighting each other. We should be working together. We have the same enemy. And
and even Bushmaster. I mean, because if you aren't watching, Bushmaster is Jamaican, but he always like in kind of like the more like truce like interactions that they has, like we could we'd be brethren.
Yeah.
And so he definitely does recognize that we're kind of fighting for the same things. We're just going about it different.
Yeah. So I've been enjoying season 2 so far.
Yes. Interesting that we started off with roaring 20s and ended up at
very, very different forms of entertainment, that's for sure.
Right. Yes. Both definitely. I definitely recommend watching.
Yeah. No. Seriously. Just because the movie's black and white, just because it's 70 plus years old, doesn't mean it's bad film.
Right. And they might talk a little funny,
Yeah, but actually, to be honest, like there are a few of the few phrases that are definitely from that era, but I kind of felt like it kind of didn't have super complicated era specific language.
Well, it's just like also that mid-Atlantic accent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially correct me if I'm wrong. Is James Cagney the one like the dirty rat guy?
That's him.
All right. I thought so.
Yeah, it wasn't in this movie, but we will definitely have to visit that film because we like the origins, figure out like where a lot of these sayings come from.
Right.
All these these colloquialisms. I can't even talk right now. Colloquialisms come from.
Indeed.
And then Luke Cage season 2. If you haven't seen the Marvel TV shows, I recommend watching them in order because you could watch them without there being an order, but there is kind of a underlying connected tale that is being told.
Yeah, there's there's this underlying membrane between all of the shows. So it's definitely helpful if you watch it.
Just like they did with the movies.
Yeah, it's like the cinematic universe. They're all kind of connected by like this membrane underneath all of it. And so,
the only one that's not quite connected as much is the Punisher.
Oh, right. Well, I mean, it's kind of connected to the season 2 of Daredevil.
True, and he might be like more connected later on with these guys. So we'll see.
Right. But yeah, Punisher, another one, awesome. Really good, really great. I love John Bernthal.
He's the perfect Punisher.
The perfect Punisher. Yep.
I think we've definitely talked about that on this show. It's just that just growl that he gets.
That primal
guttural
utterance. When he's just going full auto on on a bad guy. It's just it's so satisfying.
It's like it's like
it's just so satisfying.
Yeah, he's a crazy bastard. I love it.
Yeah, PTSD for sure. All right. So, we talked about Roaring 20s. All right, I guess we can go into talking a little bit about, since it is 4th of July coming up, we could talk about the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah, and I kind of wanted to talk about this because this declaration is kind of like why we are all here existing today,
right.
And I think now more so than ever, I think it's really important to revisit the past, and we hear a lot of all these negative things of like the founding fathers now, like, oh well, they were just a bunch of slave owners, they were this and that, and so we have to discount kind of what they're talking about, and it's like, well, okay, yeah, they had obviously some different viewpoints than we do. We also have to remember, and this when we look back to history, we have to, we can't just judge. We can't judge it. What we can do is we can look back, and look at what they were dealing with during the time, and kind of utilize the information that they had available to them at that time. And so, what's important is that the majority of their ideas were very good, and it created several generations of freedom and prosperity that we now get to partake in.
Right. I think the idea that the founders didn't struggle or see the irony of the words that they were putting down, like that all men are created or equal. I think it's highly disingenuous to think that they didn't realize the irony of their words, with the circumstances of other times, because again, a bunch of them were slave owners. Like Thomas Jefferson, he was a slave owner, but that doesn't mean he didn't struggle and he didn't wrestle with the societal norm of that time of having slaves, and his idea of all men created being equal. It's just people are now crying out for George Washington statues and Thomas Jefferson monuments to be torn down or whatever because they own slaves. But it's yes, they but that doesn't mean that they didn't wrestle with that contradiction.
Right.
And it is ultimately what they put down, in the Constitution, in the Bill of Rights, that led to the slaves being freed. Because they knew, they basically, they knocked the first domino over, essentially.
Yeah, and around that time, it was a lot of people were wrestling with that idea because. You had John Adams, our second president, who was a huge abolitionist and was very anti-slave. I believe Ben Franklin was an abolitionist. And like I said, they were wrestling with this idea from the very beginning, and it's like, okay, well, and to make sure that they got like the Bill of Rights signed and all this stuff, like all right, we'll maintain the status quo for X number of years, and then we'll revisit this topic, knowing well they would be mostly dead by that point, but it's like, but we'll let the government at the time like revisit this idea and see what to do about it, and
it's kind of a testament to like their faith in the next generation that it's like we can't tackle it right now, but we'll leave it to future generations to correct the mistakes of not just them like as a group, but like of humanity, because it's a stain on humanity that we had allowed slavery to run that long.
Right.
So
it's something too that I think it all is also missed in the signing of the Declaration of Independence is, for one, unlike the French Revolution where they just burned everything to the ground and destroyed their society, the founders were wanting to build on what worked from the old world and then kind of add in things that they believed would be the best system of government and life and liberty. And so that's how this whole in our country was founded on an idea, not people, but an idea. And for all those men that they wrote this document down and then they signed their name to it, they had, because they believed in it so much, and them signing this document could have been a death sentence.
Yeah, I mean, it was an act of treason. It was actual act of treason, because they were still British citizens or British subjects under the king, and like them declaring that they are now an independent state, that was treason.
And I think that's something that is missed nowadays, because a lot of times that so many people don't have the courage to put their name to something that they really believe in, knowing that I might lose my job, I might make someone feel uncomfortable, or what have you. And you look at our founders, and they were willing to die because they believed in this country and the idea behind it so much.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, I think, people don't understand, like, for those of you who never took in the time to read the Declaration of Independence, here's the TLDR version of it. It's basically the world's greatest Dear John letter.
Yeah.
I mean, because I honestly never really read it before. I other than like the first paragraph, I never gone further than that.
Oh, but it's beautiful. I think do you think we should read it for the audience? It's not very long.
Well, yeah. But yeah, it's basically listing. Yeah, again, as I said, it's the world's greatest Dear John letter, and it cites all the ways how the king was not treating us well, and the reasons why we were breaking off from the British Empire. And I think it was just so great. It was like literally the greatest Dear John letter. It's like, we're breaking up with you.
A lot of people think that it was just because of taxes that they broke off. It was a lot more than just that. I think the taxation without representation was kind of the last straw.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of things that were going on in the colonies at the time that were they felt were just not right. And
because like one of the things was like the quartering of soldiers. Like the British Army could just come into your house and just kick you out and take over your house. That was like one of the big things.
Yeah. And so yeah, it was just and that's why a lot of the amendments in the Constitution that we have that's why they're there.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, and just like a really quick Reader's Digest version, the Constitution is basically house rules. Yeah, this is like house rules and a chore wheel. It's like, this is what the president's going to do. This is what the Senate and the Congress is going to do. This is what the judicial is going to do. And it was basically a chore wheel.
Yeah, and it's kind of a way to make sure that no one, gained too much power.
Right.
It kept everyone in check, and for the most part, has done a pretty good job. Although, the way some things are being run right now, it's like if it wasn't for this damn Constitution and the way
Yeah, exactly. It's like it wasn't for this chore wheel. And it's funny because everyone is losing their minds over everything Trump does, and it just makes you want to ask them, wouldn't it be great if the president didn't have so much power or sway over the government? I think we have a chore wheel that says that the president doesn't have to do all those things.
Well, the one thing that I find really troubling is obviously we've talked about there's the migrant crisis from Mexico to here,
mm-hmm.
and you have these protesters that are saying it's like, well, President Trump could change this with his stroke of his pen and all this. It's like, well, no, he can't, see, because he's not an emperor, and that's
he's not the king.
That's not his job. It's the job of the legislators who put this, law into place. And now that it's being enforced, we see the trouble of it. And so it's like, okay, well, the legislators, which are the people that are complaining about everything, are not willing to change the law. They're
right. Yeah,
or when there was a idea that was put out there, they decided, a lot of people voted it down. So
when Chuck Schumer did that press conference with saying President Trump could fix it with a stroke of his pen, he was passing the buck off to Trump, even though it was his problem, and it really was his problem because he was in office when those laws were written.
Yeah.
So this is literally his mess, but he's deflecting responsibility for it onto Trump.
It's kind of a weird irony is that these guys, say what you will about whatever you think about Donald Trump or whatever president,
mm-hmm.
And then they're complaining that he could change this with the stroke of his pen. It's like, why are you giving him so much power? The executive branch should not have. I mean, there is power of the executive branch, but that is not where his power lies. He can't
mm-hmm.
just make laws up, like Obama did, and just do things without the Congress. Congress
right. I mean, and all the tweets that he's putting out, putting pressure on Congress, Congress, hurry up and write up a law, just whatever law. I don't even care anymore. Just put it on a napkin and I'll sign it. But they keep not wanting to do their job.
And that's the crazy thing is the executive branch is there to kind of protect us from protect the borders, all that stuff. The legislature is there to make laws, and the judicial is there to enforce them and not interpret the Constitution, but defend the Constitution.
Yeah, or just make sure that the laws line up with the Constitution.
It's not like the Bible. It's not a living document. We've really gone away from where I think we're supposed to be in a lot of ways. I mean, there's every few generations where I think our country is definitely gets to a crossroads, and we have to. Who was it, Reagan, that said that that was it democracy is always like a generation away from like dying out?
Maybe.
I don't remember if it was him, but it's
I think
somebody.
they. Yeah. I know it was. I think it was George Washington who said like, uh, who emphasized who I don't know, that understood that democracies can like fail within a generation.
Yeah, and maybe that was like where Reagan was getting it from, and I could be butchering the quotes all again. Anyways,
of course,
but anyways,
that's another mark of this show is Robert destroying quotes, or misquoting quotes.
Don't believe everything you see on TV. Abraham Lincoln. It's but the point is that we have to work hard to maintain what makes the United States. We have to preserve that idea. And we're not, like I said, we're not a country of people. We're a country of an idea and a country of laws. And this is, I don't like how our government, I think, has become way too big.
Mm-hmm.
And we're probably never going to get rid of a lot of how big it's gotten. But I'd like it to, like, all right, this is it. No more.
Right. I think I forget who said it, but they said the idea of having a small government is like completely out of the question nowadays. But we can still have a limited government.
Yeah, that's kind of like how I see it too.
Yeah, because I mean, with the size of government that we have right now is like it's the one that we're gonna get. Like that's why I didn't freak out so much about like Trump not getting his appointments for his cabinet or whatever.
Right.
It was like good, fine, like that's one less bureaucrat that we have to deal with, or that has like power for no other reason than he was appointed to it by the president or whatever.
Right.
So I was like, so everyone was like freaking out, like it's like, oh man, like like he doesn't have a full cabinet. It's like I don't care. That means it's one less talentless hack that's getting a government paycheck.
Yeah, right. But yeah, I just I encourage everyone, this 4th of July. I mean, yeah, go shoot off fireworks, grill up some hamburgers and hot dogs, and enjoy the the freedom that we do have. But I also encourage you, go back. It's not a very long document. Go read the Declaration of Independence, and get into a little bit into the thinking and the that the founding fathers had for the idea for this country, and just they're definitely flawed men in a lot of ways, but man, like this is I think one of the greatest documents in human history. It started, it created. This was the jumping off point for the freest nation that the world has ever seen, and even better, if you visit Washington D.C., if you go to I think it's the National Archives Museum, they actually have the original. One of the original copies of the Declaration of Independence that you can go and see and actually read the words. I mean, that's there's not too many places in the world where the document that started it all can still be read.
Yeah, take that, Magna Carta. Although you can't, or it could be argued that the Magna Carta was the precursor to the Declaration of Independence.
Oh yeah, like I said, absolutely. It wasn't like that our founding fathers decided to burn everything to the ground and start over. They've they took the good ideas from the old world, from like England, and for just in places where there had been limited liberty and things, and they took those ideas and they just made them better.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's kind of similar to Rome, because Rome was a very small city state initially, and then one of the things that they got right was, they I don't know, well, it's like an immigration thing. They embraced everyone. They allowed people to come in, even people, and they took they took all the ideas that these new people came with, and like just kept the good parts, and throughout the bad parts, like a lot of like the engineering techniques they got from other cultures, and they're like, oh, this is a great idea, and then they incorporate it into their culture. And then they went on to build one of the big, the grandest empires in the entire world.
Yeah, that's still, that we still see some of it, the remnants of it today.
Right. Yeah. And, I mean, like aqueducts. There's some aqueducts that still run water.
Yeah, I mean, it's what those guys did. It's just amazing. Mm-hmm. And that actually, they in a way provided safety for people to travel.
Right. Yeah.
Because they built a road system, and which allowed them to people just to roam freely and kind of travel from place to place, and obviously that helped that helped spread the the gospel of Christ a lot. That made that a lot easier for the apostles to do back in the day.
Right.
And that was because of Rome. So yeah, and plus they were kind of the a lot of the ideas from like Roman philosophers and stuff like that. And not ended up not becoming a democracy in the country. We became more of a republic, because it's that way. They felt, the founders realized that democracy is just mob rule. That's gonna So I think we kind of like falsely attribute, like, oh, we're a democratic country. It's like, well, no, we're not.
Well, like in some instances, yes, we're a democratic republic.
Yeah, it's something along those lines. And it's funny. I heard I don't remember if it was Elizabeth Warren or Pelosi or one of those guys, where it's like, I don't understand how so and so got the majority vote, but like they didn't win. It's like that's why, because we're not a democracy.
We're not a pure democracy.
Because if that was the case, then the majority of the country would be based off of the ideas of the big cities, because that's where the majority of people live.
Right.
And so
the way we have democracy is tyranny of the majority.
Yeah, and the way we have it set up now is that everyone kind of has a say in how the direction that the country is going, because we have the power.
Yeah, I mean, because like they had the foresight, like they realized, like all the branches, they had to be kept in check, and so so too democracy must be kept in check. So everyone's like everyone was like, who because Trump won because of the electoral college. It's like, oh no, we have to get rid of the electoral college. It's like, no. It's part of this. It's part of the system. It's like you may not like it, but that's part of the system.
Yeah, and it's just when it helps them win, it's like, oh yeah, no problem. We don't need to change anything. But as soon as they lose, it's kind of they're all upset about it. And
exactly.
But the reality is that it gives everyone a voice.
Mm-hmm.
So Joe Schmo in Nebraska, his vote counts just as much as Dillhole Buttkiss in New York City.
Or oh man, I just had a douche von Vandersnoot.
No, don't get me wrong. I like New York City. I have a lot of family from New York, so
Oh,
so I
state
got
though, right? State, not city.
yeah, they all live in New York, upstate New York, but but the New York City, the city slickers, I get that that lifestyle, that sense of humor, and so yeah, we're in your face type of people. Maybe that's why I like Trump, because I get it. Like he's a New York guy, so it's
Yeah, I
just
mean, he's a working he even though he came from wealth, he's very much the blue collar billionaire.
yeah, he's hyperbolic, he's flamboyant. All New
Hmm.
Yorkers are like that.
Yeah, I mean, like he's the guy that you can have a beer with, but then he's still like that braggadocious, blowhard.
No, we talk shit.
Yeah.
And that's why I tend to get along well with people from like New York City and like New Jersey, just because I kind of get that. Just we're not like, we don't hate people. It's just like we're kind of just like I said, we're just a brash, hard nosed type of people.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because people might construe it as mean, but like I'm just the same. What is it? What, like your girlfriend? Like, I give her shit all the time, and she takes it so personally. You know, but then I give shit to. I also give shit to Christina, but you know what she does? She throws it back at me, and that's why
Exactly.
that's why we're such good friends. It's
Well, that's
because
why we're good friends, Andy,
yeah,
because we talk shit to. I mean, if people that don't know us would listen to some of our conversations, they're like, "Do you guys don't like each other, do you?" It's like, no, he's one of my best friends.
yeah. It's like I like this guy so much that I have to talk shit about him.
Exactly. It's yeah.
It's just like yeah, that's like that. It's like one of those little things that women misconstrue about men. How how we don't express feelings or emotions. I think if I were to call you a dumb, like a dumb Hungarian or whatever, then it's like I think that expresses more uh, respect and love than if I just were to say like, "Hey man, I love you."
Yeah, I would be like, Andy, are you dying?
Right? Yeah, just like who, like it's like no.
Yeah, like it's like one of those things. The love that we have for each other is kind of just like, yeah, we got it. And it's like, so we talk
Yeah,
shit
it's
to each
not.
other.
Yeah, it's like it's unnecessary to talk about because we understand. He's like, yeah, I respect you. He's like, yeah, I respect you too. Cool. All right, next thing. And then like, yeah, it's like I can say all like of these horrible and sometimes vulgar things about you because I respect you so much.
Exactly.
As
I
odd
wouldn't have it.
as odd as that may sound to the women in the audience,
I wouldn't have it any other way.
I know, right? I mean, yeah, and I mean, like, yeah, like, it's kind of funny messing around with your girlfriend, though. although
Well,
she,
she makes it
although she
easy.
has gotten better,
She has. She's started to fight back a little bit, which
right?
is
Yeah, she's not, she doesn't like, she doesn't, take it on the chin as much.
yeah. So that's good.
Yeah, and I mean, like, if, like, yeah, because I'd always say, like, yeah, if a person isn't making fun of me within the first 15 minutes of meeting them, then I don't think we're gonna be that good of friends.
Well, I think I've stated before, but like when I first met you, and I was like, yeah, I didn't say anything at first, but I was like, something's not right here when I shook your hand. But then when you started like making cracking jokes about your own like condition, I was like, all right, we're gonna be great friends. I could tell. It's like, because when you
Yeah,
can make fun of yourself and like you don't like stuff doesn't bother you, because Language is one of those funny things where it's like language is very important, yet at the same time it's not important either. It's if words only have as much power as you give them. And so if you kind of just can whatever, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't hurt me.
Right. Yeah. It's like that thing that Owen Benjamin always says, attack the thing that people have pride in, and you'll see who they really are.
Yeah.
Or something like that, because he always recounts a story of when he was a young man and he worked at a Renaissance festival as a heckler. He was like, they put, he was in the stocks, and then passers-by, they pay to throw tomatoes at him, and so to make sure that they would, he would mock people, and he said he figured it out that you mock the thing that people are proud of. So you see a man with a toupee, then you make fun of his toupee. Or you see a woman and you make fun, and she has this gaudy bag, and then you make fun of the bag. So or if a woman takes pride in her looks and she exercises and keeps herself healthy, then you call her fat.
Oh yeah, it's pretty hilarious stuff.
So yeah. So yes, Declaration of Independence, greatest document in the history of mankind.
Definitely. Anything big that you're doing this week, Andy?
This week, I don't believe so. I don't know. I might do a family barbecue for the 4th, but other than that, not really. What do you got going
on? I might do something with my family on the 4th of July. I gotta change out my one of my headlight bulbs blew out, so I gotta change those.
Mm-hmm.
And then outside of that, not too much. Just mainly work. But I'm happy that I have a holiday off for the first time in a while. So it's kind of nice. It's at the middle of the week, so you get to relax a bit, and then I'm probably gonna. I'm trying to finish up watching the races that I recorded from this past weekend. I heard the racing was crazy at all 3 series for NASCAR. And probably get some gaming in too. I haven't really been able to play too much recently, so I want to get back into some games that I've been trying to beat.
Okay. All right. I guess we're at a good place as any to wrap it up.
Yeah.
So, all right. Yeah, that's gonna do it for this episode of Nocturnal Transmissions. Don't forget to come and join us every week, Tuesday at 8 p.m. Although this is a pre-tape.
For good reason.
For good reasons. I'm not even sure I mentioned that in the beginning, but
we did. We did not.
Okay, but I think it'd be pretty obvious that this is a pre-tape since
it's daytime still.
It's right. It's still the background is still kind of bright, and even though I try to make it look like as though it's at night, there's some things that I just can't avoid. So just making the best we can. Make do with the best we can. So yes, we are pre-taping for good reasons, and so just trust us on that, okay?
Yeah.
Don't forget to check back. I said that already. Check back next week Don't forget to check out Rob's show, Up by Up Down. Go play. We're almost done, or he's almost done with Zelda, correct?
Yeah, we're. I think at most we're gonna have I think it's 2 episodes left. Unless something goes terribly wrong and I suck at the game, so it's,
which is a possibility.
Yeah, that's true. And we got some. We'll be jumping into something new pretty soon.
Right. Yeah. So do check that out. Also, don't forget to check out the library of videos that we have. Other Nocturnal Transmissions episodes. And the regular podcast and the excerpts from those. Don't forget to follow us on our social medias: Twitter at podcastcoj and Instagram at Circle of Jerks Podcast.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. And with that, we thank you, and we're gonna say goodnight.
Happy 4th, guys.
Later.
America. America, you know, God done shed his grace on thee.